All right, picture this. You're in the kitchen, staring at a recipe. And it's like looking at a foreign language, right?
Oh, I've been there.
Yeah.
Totally get it.
Yeah. It's like you want to cook, but the whole process just seems so, I don't know, overwhelming.
It can be, for sure, especially if you're just starting out.
Exactly. But what if I told you it doesn't have to be that way? That you can ditch the takeout menus and become a confident cook?
Listening? Spill the beans.
Well, I'm Terry, and I'm here with Sheri, a total whiz in the kitchen.
Hey, that's me.
And today, we're diving deep into some surprisingly simple fundamentals that can transform you from, well, a kitchen newbie into a total rock.
Not about having some magical talent. Cooking is a skill. You can learn it step by step.
Totally. We've got some awesome source material for this deep dive. There's this amazing 20-page beginner's cooking guide. And get this, real-life advice from experienced home cooks. All the juicy details.
Oh, I love that. Real-life tips are the best.
Right. You can find the links to download everything from our Patreon.
Definitely check it out. You won't regret it.
Okay, let's jump right in. One huge myth is that you need a kitchen that looks like it belongs on a cooking show to cook well.
Right. Like you need all those fancy gadgets.
Exactly. But honestly, you don't need a sous vide machine to poach an egg.
So true. It's all about the basics.
And one of the most essential tools, drum roll please,
I'm on the edge of my seat.
a good chef's knife.
Oh, definitely. It's like the MVP of the kitchen.
Right. It can handle almost any task. It's like the superhero of your kitchen.
I love that analogy.
You know, I've always heard that a dull knife is actually more dangerous than a sharp one.
Oh, 100%. Absolutely. You need more force, so you're way more likely to slip.
Ouch.
Yeah. And it's like trying to cut a tomato with a butter knife. You'll just end up squishing it.
Right.
But a sharp chef's knife, it's a game changer. It just glides through everything.
Makes you feel like a pro.
Totally.
And of course, every superhero needs a trusty sidekick.
Right. Oh, I like where this is going.
The cutting board?
Yes. A good, sturdy cutting board is a must-have.
Absolutely. And a quick tip from the guide, wood or plastic is better than glass.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Glass boards, they might look fancy, but they can dull your knives super fast.
Good to know.
Okay, so talking about working smarter, not harder, have you heard of mise en place?
That's a fancy way of saying everything in its place, right?
Exactly. It's basically prepping everything beforehand.
Chopping your veggies, measuring your spices, all that good stuff.
Yep. So when you start cooking, it's all ready to go.
Makes things so much smoother.
Right. And you know what? It's super helpful if you have a small kitchen.
Oh, yeah, I can see that.
Keeps you organized, maximizes your space.
Totally.
Okay, I have a confession. My knife skills need some serious work. Like, I've had some close calls with my fingertips while trying to dice onions.
Oh, I feel ya. We've all been there. Don't worry, it's all about getting the right grip.
So how do you hold it properly?
So you pinch the blade where it meets the handle, use your thumb and index finger, and then wrap your other fingers around the handle.
Gotcha.
That gives you a really secure hold. And then to protect your fingers, you've got the claw method.
Claw method.
Yeah, tuck in your fingertips and use your knuckles as a guide for the knife.
Okay, I can picture that.
Might feel a little awkward at first, but trust me, it'll save your fingers.
And keep those knives sharp.
Absolutely. A sharp knife is a safe knife.
All right, before we jump into the actual cooking, we have to talk about kitchen safety.
So important.
This isn't professional advice, by the way,
Of course.
but we're all about being smart and safe in the kitchen.
Absolutely.
And a big one is preventing cross-contamination.
Raw meat?
It can have bacteria.
Yeah.
So always boards. One for raw meat, one for your produce.
Makes sense.
Right. You don't want those flavors, well, mixing.
And let's not forget about washing our hands.
Yes, before, during, after cooking, especially after handling raw meat.
Warm water, soap, at least 20 seconds of scrubbing.
Keeps those nasty foodborne illnesses away.
Exactly. And you know what? One of the sources had this great tip. Keep a little kitchen safety checklist on your fridge.
Oh, I like that. A visual reminder.
Right. It's easy to forget in the middle of cooking.
Speaking of things we forget, those beloved family recipes.
Oh, yeah. The ones with instructions like, add a pinch of this, or cook until it feels right.
Exactly. It's like trying to decipher a secret code.
But they hold so much history and tradition, those
You
recipes.
do. It's like a culinary treasure map passed down through generations.
I love that. And the best way to decode it? Talk to the older cooks in your family. Ask them about their techniques.
It's like having a personal cooking class.
Totally. And don't be afraid to make your own notes as you go.
Okay, now let's dive into some essential cooking techniques.
Let's get cooking.
First up, the mighty sauté. It's all about quick cooking over medium-high heat with a little oil.
Like for your veggies in a stir fry or pasta sauce?
Yeah. The key here is controlling the heat. You want things to sizzle, but not burn.
It's a balancing act.
And make sure to use a pan that's large enough. Don't overcrowd it.
Good point.
Now, for something a little slower and gentler, there's braising. Perfect for tougher cuts of meat.
It's like a slow, luxurious spa treatment for your food.
I like that.
You sear the meat first to lock in the flavor, then add some liquid and let it simmer low and slow.
Until it's fall off the bone tender.
Exactly.
And roasting. It's great for veggies, meat, even fruit.
Think crispy potatoes, juicy chicken, caramelized pears.
Oh, I'm getting hungry.
Me too. The key is to preheat your oven properly and get that temperature right. A meat thermometer is your best friend.
Okay, noted. For a lighter option, there's steaming.
Gentle cooking, perfect for delicate veggies and fish.
Keeps all those nutrients and colors vibrant.
Right. And then, of course, there's boiling. A classic.
The foundation for so many dishes. Soups, stews, pasta.
And don't forget to salt your pasta water generously. It makes a huge difference in flavor.
Speaking of flavor, let's talk about how to build it. This is where things get really exciting.
The secret sauce to making your food taste amazing.
And it all starts with the magical ingredient. Salt.
Salt is like the fairy dust of the kitchen. It makes everything taste better.
Enhances flavors, creates depth.
Right. And don't be afraid to try different types of salt. Kosher salt is great for everyday use, but sea salt can add some extra complexity.
Nice. Once you've got the salt down, it's time for herbs and spices.
Yeah, we're talking. It's like having an artist's palette, but for your food.
Dried herbs go in early, fresh herbs toward the end.
And spice blends. Italian herbs for pasta, Mexican for tacos, Indian for curries.
It's like a flavor adventure.
But remember, just like salt, use them judiciously. Start small and taste as you go.
You can always add more, but you can't really take it back.
And toasting your spices can make their flavor even stronger.
Oh, that's a good tip. Don't forget about acid.
Lemon juice brightens up a rich sauce. Vinegar cuts through fat.
It's like that final touch that makes everything pop.
And it's important for baking, too.
Okay, now let's talk about mistakes.
Oh, the dreaded kitchen mishaps.
We've all had them. Overcooked pasta, burnt pans, under-seasoned soup.
But those mistakes are actually valuable lessons.
That's how we learn and improve.
One common mistake is overcooking pasta.
Happens to the best of us.
Always cook it a minute or two less than the package instructions.
And
taste it to make sure it's done.
And salt that water.
Another big one is under-seasoning. Salt is your friend.
Start small, taste, add more if needed.
If you oversalt something, try adding a peeled potato. It can soak up some of that excess salt.
That's a good trick. What about burnt pans?
The worst.
The best way to prevent them is using medium heat and not overcrowding the pan.
And if it does happen, try deglazing it with some wine or stock.
Deglazing?
Yeah. You pour in a little liquid while the pan is still hot. It loosens those burnt bits.
Oh, I see.
And always use the right pan for the job. Non-stick for eggs, cast iron for searing.
Makes sense. Let's talk about cooking for a crowd.
Parties, holidays, potlucks.
It can be a little daunting.
Planning is key. Choose recipes you can make ahead or easily scale up.
And think about your guests. Do they have any dietary needs or preferences?
Exactly. Offer variety. Some vegetarian, some gluten-free options.
And drinks. Don't forget the drinks.
Oh, yeah. Gotta stay hydrated.
Okay, let's talk gadgets. There are so many out there.
Which ones are worth it?
Focus on the ones you'll use regularly. Don't buy everything that looks shiny and new.
Start with the basics. A blender, a food processor, maybe an immersion blender.
If you bake a lot, a stand mixer is a good investment.
But gadgets are tools, not magic wands. You still need to know how to cook.
Now, some tips for saving time and money. We're all busy, right?
Absolutely.
And it's easy to just order takeout when you're short on time.
But cooking at home doesn't have to be complicated or expensive.
Meal prepping is a lifesaver. Spend a few hours on the weekend prepping ingredients or cooking in bulk.
And buying in season can save you money.
Farmers markets are great for that.
And buy in bulk when you can, especially for pantry staples.
Rice, beans, pasta.
Leftovers are your friend too. Get creative and make new dishes out of them.
Okay, one last thing. Cooking is a journey, not a destination.
There's always something new to learn.
Experiment, try new things, don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And have fun. Cooking should be enjoyable.
It's about nourishing yourself and others, expressing your creativity.
Exactly. And on that note, we're going to take a short break. We'll be back soon to dive deeper into some specific challenges and techniques. It really is a journey. And, cooking's more than just following a recipe, right?
It's like you're creating something.
Exactly. It's like learning a new language. Once you get the basics down, you can start, well, improvising, making your own culinary masterpieces.
I like that, the language analogy.
Right. But even when you are following a recipe, understanding how it's structured can make all the difference.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Beginners, they often get tripped up because they don't really get the flow of the recipe.
They jump right into it.
Yeah. They skim the ingredients, go straight to the instructions, and then realize, oh, I was supposed to marinate this overnight.
Or they misread something, like tablespoons instead of teaspoons.
Oh, the baking soda cake. We've all been there.
Been there, done that.
So the solution, mise en place, again, but also really taking the time to read the entire recipe before you even start.
Like having a game plan.
Exactly, like studying a blueprint before you build a house.
So you know what you're getting into.
Right. And once you've mastered a basic recipe, you can start experimenting, make adjustments, substitutions.
That's where the fun comes in.
Totally. Maybe you want to make it gluten-free or dairy-free, or you just ran out of something and need to get creative.
Improvise.
Exactly. There are so many ways to adapt recipes, like using applesauce instead of eggs in baking, or swapping out regular milk for a plant-based one.
It's all about being flexible in the kitchen.
And knowing what each ingredient does in a dish. That way you can make smart substitutions that won't, ruin everything.
Speaking of recipes, those special family recipes, the ones passed down through generations.
Ah, yes. The handwritten notes, the vague instructions.
Add a pinch of this. Cook until it feels right.
They're more than just recipes. They're a connection to our history. They tell stories.
I love that. It's like culinary storytelling.
Exactly. And those measurements, they can be a little intimidating.
They're more like guidelines, right?
Right. So approach those recipes with a sense of curiosity. Don't be afraid to experiment. Talk to the older cooks in your family.
Get the inside scoop.
Exactly. Ask them about their techniques. Watch them cook. It's like having a personal cooking class.
And make your own notes along the way. Make it your own.
Exactly. Now let's talk about something that's becoming more and more important. Special dietary considerations.
Yeah, a lot of people are going vegetarian, vegan, gluten-free, low carb.
And it's important to know how to adapt recipes for those diets.
So it's not as challenging as it seems.
Not at all. There are so many delicious options. Many cuisines are naturally vegetarian or gluten-free.
Oh, like what?
Indian curries, Thai stir-fries, Mexican bean dishes.
I love all of those.
Right? And they're packed with flavor.
And you could easily adapt classic recipes, too.
Yeah. Gluten-free pasta, plant-based milk, all sorts of alternatives.
Or just focus on fresh, whole foods.
Exactly. Just be mindful of substitutions. And if you're not sure, talk to a nutritionist. They can help you create a balanced meal plan.
Great advice. Now let's talk about time and money.
The two things we never have enough of.
Right. It's so easy to just order takeout.
But cooking at home can be really easy and affordable.
Meal prepping is a game changer. Cook in bulk on the weekend and you've got meals ready to go for the week.
And buy in season. That can save you a lot of money.
And go to those farmers markets.
Yes, and buy pantry staples in bulk. Rice, beans, lentils, things like that. They last a long time.
And don't be afraid to get creative with leftovers.
Turn them into new dishes. Less waste, more deliciousness.
I love that. Yeah, gadgets. Everybody loves gadgets.
They can be fun, and they can make cooking easier.
But which ones are really worth it?
Focus on the ones you'll actually use. Don't buy everything that looks cool.
Okay, what are the essentials?
A good blender, a food processor, maybe an immersion blender if you like soups.
And if you bake a lot, a stand mixer is a good investment.
Yeah. But remember, they're tools, not magic wands. You still need to know how to cook.
Like, you can have a fancy car, but you still need to know how to drive it.
Exactly. Now, before we wrap up this part, remember, cooking is a journey.
There's always something new to learn.
Experiment. Try new things. Don't be afraid to make mistakes.
And above all, have fun.
Exactly. Cooking should be enjoyable. It's about nourishing yourself, being creative, and having fun. We'll be back after a short break to wrap things up and give you some final takeaways. It really is a journey, isn't it?
It is. And we've covered so much ground in this deep dive, from the essential tools to techniques to, even fixing those kitchen disasters we've all had.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
But before we wrap things up, what are some key things our listeners can take away from all this and start using right away?
Well, I think the most important thing is to start simple.
Okay, yeah. Don't try to make, like, a 5-course meal your first time in the kitchen.
Exactly. Choose a recipe that doesn't have a million ingredients. Something you've always wanted to make, but, felt a little scared to try.
So start with the basics.
Right, and focus on just learning one technique at a time. Maybe it's how to, I don't know, saute vegetables the right way or roast a chicken.
One of the guides we looked at actually said to pick one new recipe to try every week.
Oh, that's a good idea, so you don't get overwhelmed.
Right. And remember, it's okay to mess up sometimes.
Absolutely. Those burnt dishes, the oversalted soup, those are all learning experiences.
It happens to all of us.
Exactly. And sometimes those mistakes turn into something amazing.
Like those happy accidents in the kitchen.
Exactly. They can lead to the best dishes.
So true. And don't be afraid to experiment.
Oh, definitely. Try new ingredients, new spices, new ways of cooking.
One guide even suggested having like a themed cooking night each week.
Oh, I love that.
Taco Tuesday, Meatless Monday, something like that.
That's a great way to mix things up. And if you're ever unsure about something, there are so many resources out there.
So many cookbooks, cooking shows, even online groups where you can ask questions.
And don't forget, you probably have some amazing cooks right in your own family.
Your own personal experts.
Exactly. Ask them for advice, watch them cook, learn their secrets.
And most importantly, have fun. Cooking should be enjoyable.
It shouldn't be stressful. Put on some music. Enjoy the process.
It's about feeding yourself and the people you love, being creative, and just enjoying the experience.
Absolutely.
So with that, we want to thank you for joining us on this deep dive into cooking fundamentals. We hope you've learned some new things and you're feeling inspired to, get cooking.
And remember, you don't have to be a professional chef to make amazing food.
It's about those basic skills, being open to learning new things, and having fun along the way.
Happy cooking, everyone!
And don't forget, like, subscribe, and leave us a comment below. We love hearing from you.
And if you're enjoying the show, please consider supporting us on Patreon. You can find the link in the show notes.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on The Deep Dive. Thanks for being a listener. Click the card above to explore our playlist and find more episodes. And hey, if you really appreciate our work and want to help us keep creating awesome content, you can find us on Patreon. That's patreon.com/McAllister. Or if you just want to buy us a coffee, head over to buymecoffee.com/Jamie McAllister. All content, copyright Jamie McAllister.